Hello, and thank you for finding us. We are broadcasting live on both audio, podcast, and YouTube for your viewing pleasure. I'm Jimmy D. I'm joined this week by my co-host Bruce and special guest Robin for this week's episode of The Boorach.
In 2021, bored of lockdown, three friends started a podcast. Today, still going strong, they continue talking nonsense. If you're having trouble sleeping, and if you can find it, maybe you should listen to The Boorach.
So how was that? How was that, Bruce? I can't really do better than Cy.
I miss Cy
on his holly bags. I know, I miss him already as well. I had to write that down. You saw me looking at it, there, and I was just like, I'm going to forget all my lines.
Oh, unbelievable.
For your sixth attempt, it was very.
I know, it was. I mean, this is the take 6. Yes, for episode 7 of The Boorach, we've got Robin, special guest, stepping in this week to help us out. And just in case, because we couldn't really manage on our own, Brucey, with our chat. So we've got to bring somebody in to actually say something interesting now and again. Yeah. Robin, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm Robin. I'm an old school friend of you guys, basically.
And known you forever.
I know, known you forever. Originally from Pennycook, which is a town just south of Edinburgh, and I've moved thousands of miles, well, about 8 miles, really.
About 8 miles into Edinburgh.
Into Edinburgh.
We're not looking for a life story here, Robin. I was kind of, maybe you could have gone straight for the business side, young up-and-coming entrepreneur in Edinburgh with the co-founder of Bookster, digital tech company in Edinburgh. I thought you might have gone that line. I wasn't really looking for
I could have got a wee plug-in for my company, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You might as well.
Booking systems for all your holiday rental needs.
For all your holiday rental needs. Go to bookster.com.
Hold on, sorry, could you just put the jingle in there, the Bookster jingle?
And how are you, Rob? Are you doing all right? Are you doing good?
I'm very well, yes. I've just been on holiday, just with COVID restrictions. It's been local. Just up to the near Aviemore, basically on holiday the last couple of weeks. So that was very nice. So I'm feeling very refreshed. Thank you very much.
And, good. Me too. I'm on the last day of my holidays. I start work back tomorrow, so not looking forward to that. Brucey, how are you? You were off last week. We were having fun.
I was, yeah. I was in. I was similar, sort of. I don't like to call it a staycation because I always think a staycation means you actually stay in your own house. So I was on holiday in England and near London, and some great, actually, a good week, really nice week. Went to Harry Potter World and Natural History Museum, Tower London, and then Alton Towers on the way home. So the full childhood experience was great.
Excellent. And that was for you. Did you take the family, or was that just you?
No, I just went myself. Just left them. So just thought I'd have
they
a
were
week.
needing to get home. So no, I just meant Alton Towers.
Harry Potter World on your own.
Well, I'm going to try
big coasters. It was good.
And bring some kind of semblance of order to this podcast this week. So if there is no semblance of order, that's why. Simon makes this look very easy when he does this. But we're going to go straight into the first section. It's what's in your mind this week, guys? What's grinding your gears? What's up? What have you been thinking about? Bruce, why don't you start? What's been on your mind?
Oh, okay, I'm going straight in with a biggie, Jim, this week. Yeah, I've had 2 weeks off to brace myself for this week back. I suppose what's on my mind this week is obviously we're recording this a couple of days after the final of the Euros between England and Italy, which obviously Italy won on penalties, and there's been various elements of kind of fallout from that, but there's one that's really kind of struck me, which is that I've spent a large part of my adult life kind of just by default wanting England to get beat in these kind of major tournaments. And actually, probably for the first time in any tournament, I found a real distinction between what the media and the sort of background noise was doing and the actual qualities of the England football team and the men that are involved in that. And actually, subsequent from the penalties, it's been even proved even more by, I don't know if you saw Marcus Rashford's statement last night, but it brought a tear to my eye. Genuinely, it was one of the most moving things I think I've read, certainly from a footballer. I just thought, good on you, son. Absolutely brilliant statement. And I also, as you both know, I live with a lovely English lady, and my daughter was asking me during the match, well, why are you supporting Italy? And I suddenly found myself having to go, well, how do you justify that to a 10-year-old without going into years and years of history and starting to sort of question what it's about, and so. I suppose I was interested to get what you guys thought, and what is there a way? Because I feel like there should be a sort of watershed moment here, because what the England team are doing is completely different from what the English media are doing, and I think there's a few things that we could maybe try and do, and also as Scots maybe take a little bit of responsibility, like some of the stuff about like the thing on the National and the new paper, and we're going to want a knighthood for Roberto Mancini and all that. It's just like way too far too far for me, and how do you find that balance between having rivalry and football rivalry and kind of not wanting your rivals to win, but actually I think on both sides it's just got
but this is the problem, is that everybody's got a different line and what line you cross, and how far you can go with that, light-hearted banter or the good fun. But I mean, it's always been there. It is a national rivalry born, from history, but also I think, it's England Scotland was the very first international football game, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah,
you'll keep
right
on that, Bruce. And there's a big sort of rivalry there because the record has always been kept. I think it was one of your quiz questions the other week is, how many, what is the win-loss record? And I think there's only 7 or 8 in it. You're right, a lot of people do take it too far, but everybody takes everything too far. So I don't think, the problem I've got is what you're going to do about it. What are you actually going to do to actually say, right, we want to stop this going too far, and without becoming the woke police and actually going, oh, right, okay, you can't say anything, that's might be risque about the wheels falling off the chariot, for the England rugby team. Oh, can't say that because chariots remind them of the song that they sing, which is all about slavery. And it's just like, for God's sake, Jesus, at what point are you actually does it not become banter anymore? And that was a rugby reference, I appreciate, but I think and you go into the violent elements of it as well, but they are not football fans, and they're just out, people getting drunk and wanting a fight. That's always been inherent down in English football generally. They're not really football fans, and anyone who is a proper football fan condones that as much as anybody else in the world. But it's not just. But the thing is, it's not just Scots. We live in Scotland, so we see it as a Scotland-England thing. But you look across Europe, and I don't think anybody was cheering England on. From Italy to France to Germany to Denmark. I don't think there was many people going, "Come on, England," that weren't actually from England, and that's just I don't know whether it's.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation today. I through work, I was speaking to a German guy who actually he's living in Barcelona at the moment, so he has a sort of interesting perspective on the Catalan sort of situation there as well. But what he was saying was the funny thing about the sort of Germany-England thing is that Germany, clearly to Germany, England is just another game. It's not really a big deal, particularly. Their sort of biggest, he was saying their biggest sort of nemesis in a way is Italy, that they hardly ever they can't get past Italy. However, with the sort of hooliganism aspect, he was basically sitting going, I really don't want England to win, but I really don't want Italy to win either. So, and for kind of, varying degrees of sporting or historic reasons. And I think also he works with quite a few English guys who through the tournament have been, giving him a lot of stick. So I think from that perspective, he was probably, looking for, not that interested in winning. But kind of going back to your original point in a way, I'm kind of the same as you, Bruce, but I do I see it through the lens of a sporting rivalry that has been around forever, been around for a long, long time, and it does have historical, roots, I suppose. But I think there is a kind of a line, and I think when it sort of goes outside of sport, or when it becomes when you're sort of personally abusing players or fans or whatever, then it's too far. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Arsenal fans not liking Chelsea winning, or
Tottenham.
Hearts don't like Hibs, and they're in the same city. It's like they're in the same city. Why can't you just support Hibs? And there's something about it's a sporting rivalry, so there is something about that going on. But I do know what you mean, Bruce, because actually when Rashford stood up to take his penalty, and I was watching it with my good wife, I said I really hope he doesn't miss this, because he has done so much. He's been such a good ambassador and such a wonderful guy that I really don't want him to miss. When he missed it, I felt really sorry for him, even though I actually wanted Italy to win. At that moment, I was like, "Oh, actually, I'd rather England won this," because these guys, they're doing all the right things and saying the right things.
But I think that's sort of my point. I mean, not completely, and it's still a rivalry and all that. But actually, if you look at the sort of behaviour of them, the way that they've really tried to kind of, I don't like the word preach, but I can't think of a better one. The sort of good values of respect and diversity and all that kind of stuff. The way they've had a good go at some of the Tory politicians over the last 24 hours, that actually there's an awful lot to actually quite like about this particular England team, I think, and the way that they conduct themselves. And I think a huge part of the problem is the lens through which we are, we're the only, what was the thing someone sent us yesterday? Scotland's the only country that doesn't have a end-to-end coverage of the Euros from its own broadcaster. It gets it.
Which I think is a big problem, actually. I think it is. I think that is a massive problem, because when it comes to the enjoyment of these international tournaments, it's a struggle. You get constant, especially when Scotland don't qualify, you don't get just a neutral, broadcast. You get a broadcast from the England camp, blah blah blah, this and this and this, and it is quite difficult not to build up a bit of resentment on that basis. And it's I feel really awful about it to some extent, but yeah, I think that is a problem. I think we could do probably
a podcast on this alone. I think there's an awful lot that we could go into here, Bruce. So you've opened us up with a belter. I'm going to cut it a little short there, though, and because we'd like to get through some other topics, maybe, before the podcast's over. So, Rob, what's grinding your gears this week? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Well, not grinding. I got my second COVID jab, so that's been very much high on my. And if I did wonder whether I might not be feeling a bit ill today, but I felt fine. So the first one, I felt grim afterwards. I really felt bad, but I've been fine. So that's what's been on my mind. And with all the kind of COVID restrictions, so we had an announcement today about things are going to loosen up on the 19th. There's still going to be face masks and things worn, but there's going to be significant.
That's in England, though, isn't it?
No, that's in Scotland today. That was an announcement today. But there will still be mandatory mask requirements. So, whereas in England they're just they're
still talking about that in England, aren't they? They're the whole Freedom Day next week, and there's a lot of there's going. You know what, the Euros that have just gone on in Wembley, and you see them packed in Wimbledon, and you think, how are they not just going to go, and the numbers going to go way up, and it's just going to be really, you want to relax everything now. Even the World Health Organization are saying it's a stupid thing to do.
It's pretty sort of bonkers, but
it is bonkers.
So it was So there was that optimism of getting my second jab, and and hopefully, although on the face of it, it seems crazy to be relaxing all these rules and things, but I don't know. Hopefully it pans out and that there are enough people vaccinated, and we can pull through it. And this is kind of really is the end game.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we've just sort of reached a point where you don't want to go too early, and obviously there's still big, you saw, was it the Netherlands the other week, opened everything up, and 2 weeks later everything was shut again. The last thing I think you want is to get back into that kind of cycle. But then I guess also this sort of has to come a point where we're starting to try to work out how we actually live with this and move forward with it in a way that allows some form of normality. I think Scotland have got it all pretty much okay. I mean, that's my kind of view of it. I think I would rather be up here than in the free-for-all next week, I think, keeping the masks and that kind of stuff. But I suppose time will tell. The big peak in Scotland seems to have been reached a couple of days ago and is coming down again, isn't it? So hopefully.
Yeah, it definitely feels in Scotland anyway that it feels like it's kind of people are relaxing a little bit more. I think the anxiety levels of people are reducing. Still there, but I think it's definitely reducing. And I think that will take time, and everyone will need to take their own time to kind of get back to some sort of normality in their own way. But you will find a lot of people, when kids' birthday parties come up, you come in the kids and you take a second guess and you go, should we? How many people? Where is it? And you do sort of take a second thought, whereas initially you were just go, oh yeah, sure, yeah, we'll bring the kids, yeah, we'll come down, all three of us. No, okay, one of us will go, and now where you might have taken everyone, you might only take two. So things like that are still not back to normal, but it'll take a little bit of time. But yeah, I'm feeling okay about it. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling glad that it's starting to release a little bit. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
How about you, Bruce? Are you anxious about it? Are you all right about it? How's things? Because the theatre world's still not opened up, is it?
I mean, the announcement today confirming that 1 metre distancing from the 19th and then hopefully 0 from the 9th, if that stays on course, which is the thing, would be, make a big difference. I mean, as you guys know, I've got a fringe show about to open in kind of 3 weeks' time. So it's really nervous times for me. Still don't really have a total sense of how the audiences are going to be, because we're outside, we're in a theatre setting, we are going to be distant, but we're going to be relatively close together, sort of packed in. There's going to be obviously an ensemble group, so there's a lot of anxieties around it. But my goodness me, it feels amazing to be returning to some sort of normality and to feel like, hold on, this was what life is like actually, and these are the things that I, for me, doing theatre's my thing. So actually, to suddenly go, we could be doing some normal feels brilliant, So I suppose that's where I'm at. What about you?
Okay.
You got something on your mind this week?
Yeah. Do you know what I have? I thought about it. There was a couple of things, right? And I'm not going to go all hard and heavy like you guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go down the COVID road. I'm not going to go the whole football rivalry racism. I'm going to lighten it a little bit, right? When I was on holiday last week, right? I was in the co-op, right? Keeping it real. I was in the co-op, and buying a bottle of wine. And I saw this strange shaped bottle on the shelf, and sometimes that grabs my eye, and I had a quick look, and it was a Bankrock. Have you heard of it? They're kind of an Australian vinery, and picked it up, and the bottle was plastic, and I thought that's odd, and it was flat, so it was like a rectangle, so it was a rectangular shape bottle. And it had a plastic top on it, and it was completely plastic. I thought that's odd. I know you get boxes of wine and you get glass, right? But the whole thing was that this bottle was made from 100% recycled plastic, and the bottle could be recycled. And I kind of thought that's good. But then I actually bought it because it was in my price range under a tenner, And it was the right grape, the Merlot. So I thought, okay, do you know what? I'll give this a go because it's just for the novelty value a little bit. And so I took it, and then I kind of showed it, to my cousins and my wife and that, and talked about it a little bit more. But then it started making more and more sense. The plastic is so much thinner than glass. It's so much lighter than glass. You can pack a lot more in a rectangular shape in a box than you can with round, glass bottles. And if you're shipping all the way from Australia, trying to sell bottles of wine, why isn't every bottle of wine plastic and rectangular shaped? Because it takes up so much less space. You get a lot more of them on the shelf as well, because they're so much thinner than a normal bottle. So you can pack the shelves with the bottles. It's recycled. It's recyclable, including the lid. And it's just like, why isn't everybody just doing this? And I just thought that is a really good, and it's good that they've tried it, because people can be a bit snobby about bottles of wine and, the label and the vineyard and the, having glass bottles got to have a cork, can't have a screw top and blah, blah, blah. But they've taken the leap and gone, do you know what? This is about more than that. This is actually about sustainability. And they've put it in a plastic bottle. And I thought, good on them. And I was very pleased to see it. And I hope more follow. So look out for plastic bottles of wine in your supermarket near you if you go to Co-op.
Glass is very recyclable and
It is, but it's heavy.
And a cork is quite good. Do they? That's an interesting point, actually, I suppose. Do they normally bottle it all in Australia and put it in a ship? Or do they stick it in a big container and bottle it here?
Like an oil tanker.
Like wine. A big vat of wine sealed up.
I prefer the oil tankers now. A big oil tank, nothing but wine, billions of gallons.
Believe that there is a tank of wine coming from Australia. I know some folk that would have found that, and by now they would have been on that.
It's not the sort of thing you're going to advertise, swimming. Is it?
It would have been hijacked by now. Yeah. It would have been in the port up in somewhere in the Outer Hebrides, like the whiskey.
Yeah.
But I just thought, but for packaging wise, you're right. They might ship it in big vats and then bottle it over here. I don't know, actually. I never really thought. But even just the transporting from wherever the central transport is, you get a lot less of them on a distribution truck. You'll get a lot less of them arriving, so you have to do more deliveries. Whereas if you got a box of 50 for the same space and the same weight as a box of 25 normal bottles, then you're saving on fuel, you're saving the environment on that element of it, on the actual transportation side as well. Whether it comes like that from Australia or not, I think you're still saving. And on shelf space, and the amount of restacking you need to do, blah, 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 and the amount of reordering. It seemed like a good idea.
The main question is, does it taste any good, I suppose?
It was lovely. I didn't taste any difference. I'm not much of a wine connoisseur, I'll be honest. But I like nice wine, drinkable wine, and it was lovely. It's drinkable wine. I would buy it again. I've tried to buy it again, can't find it. The Co-op in Pitlochry is apparently the only Co-op that stocks it. I've tried the Co-op in Bridgevan. I've tried the Co-op in Newborough. I've tried the Co-op I've not been able to find it again.
It's a brilliant There's a brilliant YouTube clip of the guy who decides the packaging. If you sort of search it up, it's actually an Australian guy, funnily enough, and he just does a great pastiche about let's put the tuna in a tin, but the fresh mackerel in a plastic container, and just all these when you actually start to think about why some things are in some packaging and not others, and his pastiche is brilliant for it. So have a look for that.
Brilliant. Okay, we'll do. Anyway, that's us 20 minutes in, guys, and we're not off topic one. I'm doing a really bad job of keeping you guys from just rambling. So we've done that. What we're going to do this time, though, is I'm going to take over now. I've got the host seat for the week, and also we have talked a lot about football. People might have noticed that Bruce tries to get it in every week, but with Cy being here, and me as well, I'm not much of a football guy. The football is kind of, it's mentioned, but it's not really a major part of the podcast. So this week, now that we're going to go and do the Scottish quiz, we're going to make it about Scottish football because Robin does like a bit of a kick of the round ball now and again as well, and has been a lifelong fan of Dunfermline Athletic for his sins. So let's go ahead with the Scottish quiz on Scottish football this week. So, we should have talked about the format of the quiz prior to the podcast, Brucey, but I'm just going to go. There's 14 questions on here that I've got for you.
14?
Yeah, it's quite 14, a lot, isn't it? I know. And so I'm going to have to shoot through them, I think, because like I say, we're 25 minutes in. Do you
want to do 7 each and a score at the end?
Let's do that. Let's do question shot about, okay? And if you get the wrong answer, the other person gets a chance to steal it, okay?
Oh, okay.
So let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. That sounds great. See, the best formats are thought in the hoof. See, that's when I do my best thinking, Bruce, when I'm under pressure. Right, okay, so question 1 is going to go to our special guest this week, Rob. It's question 1. So, in which current Premiership club has never won the Scottish Cup or the League Cup? Which current Premiership club, there's only one, has never won the Scottish Cup or League Cup?
Right.
Oh,
that's
I hope they never got relegated. This quiz might be.
Kilmarnock got relegated, didn't they?
Oh, did they? All right, it's not them. It's not them. It's not them.
It's not Kilmarnock, right? Okay.
Yeah. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to give you some options. I'm going to give you some options. Give you 4 options. Okay.
Go on, give me.
I'm going to give you 4 options: Ross County, Livingston, Hamilton Accies, St Mirren.
I'm going to go Ross County.
And you would be wrong.
Oh, is it Hamilton?
It's Hamilton Accies for the
You got relegated, Jim.
Did they? I thought they did. You said Kilmarnock got relegated.
Yeah,
they also got relegated.
Sorry, this quiz was prior to relegation.
Yeah.
Sorry. Or that question was. I've picked some questions from another quiz because it was it's easier.
Have Ross County won the League Cup? Have they?
It might be in the Scottish Cup, Scottish or League Cup. Okay, question 2. I'm going to batter through these, Brucey. Question 2. Yeah. How many teams have City in their name in the SPFL?
All 4 divisions?
In the SPFL, it says. In the SPFL.
That's all 4 leagues, isn't it?
So is it 1, 2, 3, or 4?
It depends how up to, because Brechin just got relegated. So Edinburgh City. I think that might be it. I'm going to say 1 and hope that your quiz is up to date.
This was prior to the end of the season. It was prior to the end of the season.
So it'll be 2 then.
Right. Okay. Rob, you're wrong.
I think Dundee City are called Dundee City. Yeah. So 3.
The answer is 3. Rob steals back. The answer is 3. Okay. I didn't look up the history of the answer or to give you all 3 of them. I just have the answer.
Well, it'll be Brechin City, Edinburgh City, and another.
Someday it'll
come to
phone
me.
in.
It'll come to me.
Phone in. Watch the switchboard. Somebody's going to phone in and give us the answer. Right. Okay. Next question. Rob, you're up. Who has the most clean sheets in League One this season? So this is your league, League One. Who has the most clean sheets? Is it Airdrie, Montrose, Peterhead, or Falkirk? That's not your league. You're in the Championship. That's not League One. League One's below that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. No idea, basically. So
yeah. So guess.
I know. I'll go for Falkirk.
Right, and you would be correct. Robbie Much and the Falkirk goalkeeper. So well done. So you've got 2. Okay. Celtic hold the record for the most consecutive appearances in a League Cup final. But how many was it? 4, 7, 10, or 14? Yep, League Cup final. 4, 7, 10, or 14, Bruce?
I have a feeling it's quite a few because they won it, I think, in in the sort of 50s, I think, a number of times in a row. So I reckon it's either 7 or 10. I'll say 7.
And you'd be wrong, Rob.
I've got to go with 10 then, haven't I?
It's 14. You're both wrong.
I knew it was a lot.
So I score 1. Okay, so it's 14. Right. So Rob, back to you. Which team is currently bottom of the Lowland League? All right, and I did check because you can't get relegated off the Lowland League. And I did check this one that they were still bottom, and so that they are, and they were when I checked. So is it Vale of Leithen, Dalbeattie Star, Edinburgh University, or Gretna 2008?
I'm going to go with Edinburgh University, I think.
Your old alumni?
That's right, yeah.
You'd be wrong. You'd be wrong, Bruce. What do you reckon?
Was it Dalbeattie one of them?
Dalbeattie Star.
That's who I'd go for.
And you'd be wrong too. It's Vale of Leithen. 0 points. Not one win or draw this season.
Wow.
Okay. Right. Here we go. Question 6. When was the last time neither Celtic nor Rangers won the top division in Scotland? Bruce, this is your question.
When was the last time? Well, it was Aberdeen, and it was...
I'll give you 80 or 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, or 86, 87.
It wasn't 85, 86, I know that. Owen Thompson, MP, who was here last
84,
week,
85.
will be screaming...
86, 87.
Oh, I see. I think 84 is what's in my head. So whatever the one season ends in 84.
84, 85, right. And you'd be correct. 84, 85. It was Aberdeen, I'm fairly sure.
Madness.
So that's leveled things up, Brucey. You're now 2-all with Robin. Right, Robin, back to you. What year did the first Scottish Cup final take place? What year? 1871, 72, 73, or 74? The first Scottish Cup final.
Well, random guess, obviously. I wasn't there. 1874.
74 is correct, Rob. 25% chance and nailed it. Well done. Right, okay, that's put you back in the lead now. Okay, Brucey, when was the last Scottish Cup final not to be played at Hampden? When was the last Scottish Cup final not to be played at Hampden? Was it 93, 98, 2014, or 2018?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't played. I know it wasn't played 98 because I was there. I was at Parkhead. I think it was 2014 for the Commonwealth Games. That's my guess.
For the what?
Commonwealth Games. They were using Hampden for the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, that's right. And you are absolutely correct. That levels you up. Well done. Good
Awesome.
working out. So 2014.
Well done.
Okay, Rob, back to you. Between 1902 and 2016, and this is a good one. This should have been yours, Bruce. Between 1902 and 2016, how many Scottish Cup finals did Hibernian lose? This is a great question. This is a great question. Somebody really didn't like the Hibbies that went and worked all this out. Is it?
I mean, the obvious answer is
10,
all of them. Yeah.
Is it 8, 10, 12, or 14? Yeah. So that must be when they won it, 2016, was it? Or 2017?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I'm going to go for 12. 12.
You'd be wrong.
I think it's 8, but that's
Bruce,
okay.
Chance to steal. It's not 8, it's 10. It's 10. Yeah. Do you know I've got as many points as you guys now? Right. Okay.
I was there for number 10. Sorry.
Super Cali, go ballistic. Celtic are atrocious. That was 20 years ago. But who scored the Celtic goal that night? The
Celtic goal?
6-1? Yeah, the Celtic goal. Was it 9-1, 6-1, something like that?
No, it was only 2 or 3-1, but they were in the
like
division
2-1.
below. Yeah.
All right. I thought it was more than that. Supercalibalistic Celtic Atrocious, 20 years ago. Who scored the Celtic goal? Was it Mark Burchell, Mark Viduka, Lubor Moravchik, or A.L. Berkovic?
I don't know, but my instinct is Viduka.
Wrong. You'd be wrong. Brucey, unlucky. Robin?
I'll go for Burchell.
Burchell is correct. Rob steals.
50-50.
Steals a wee point. 50-50. Right. Okay, so we're back with you, Rob. A chance to press home your advantage. Who, and this would have been a better question for Bruce as well. These are totally the wrong order. Who is the current Scotland women's national team captain? I wonder if Bruce does know, actually.
Have you got some options?
I've got some options. Is it Kim Little, Joe Love, Lee Alexander, or Rachel Corsie?
Kim Little.
She's probably the best known name out of that. That's the only name I knew, I'll be honest, out of that list. But no, not her. So, Bruce, your show in the Fringe that you've been talking about earlier, that's about the women's football back in the day, football, isn't it?
It is.
It's about how the women played football back in the war years. So you should be right up on the national women's team.
I'm pretty sure that Rachel Corsie has been the captain. Whether she is the current captain or not, I'm less confident. But I am going to go with Rachel Corsie.
You done it, Brucey.
Yeah.
Well done. Rachel Corsie is the current national team captain. Okay, I kept these extra 4 in, by the way, because they were so good. They were such good questions. So I kept them, and I didn't want to ditch them. That was the first of them. So we're now on. That was 11. Now we're on 12. So Brucey, this is yours, and you'll probably get this. I've got a feeling. Which club was James McFadden playing at when he scored that goal for Scotland in Paris? What was his club team in England?
We watched that at your house, Jimmy. Sorry, just a quick.
What we did, yeah. Was it Birmingham City, Everton, Motherwell, or Sunderland?
Just when you asked the question, my instinct was he was still at Everton. So I'm going to just go with that for speed's sake.
And you'd be right. Be right. He was at Everton. Yeah. Well done.
What a goal.
I nearly gave you a bit of a clue there. I said English club. That's not in the question because Motherwell was one of the options. Rob, back to you. Last question.
Pressure.
You need this. Which country outside the British Isles have Scotland beaten the most? Is it Lithuania, Norway, Faroe Islands, or Denmark? You see, this is tricky.
Yeah, Norway and Denmark are, they're generally quite good, but you kind of think, oh well, they put the Faroe Islands in there.
Red herring, yeah.
Yeah, so to speak, Faroe Islands. Sure, herring is up there.
Yeah. I'm going to push you, Rob. We're 38 minutes into the podcast.
Okay. I'm going to go with Norway, which is probably a bit of a crazy thing, but Norway.
It's not Norway. No, Bruce, chance to steal and take it out with Rob's reach.
Oh man. So Norway, Denmark, Faroe Islands. Who's the other one?
Lithuania.
We've beaten them a few times. So yeah, I'm going Lithuania.
Believe it or not, and this bodes well for the future, it's Denmark.
Is it? I don't remember.
We have
playing Denmark.
I don't even remember it either. Apparently, we've beaten them more than the Faroe Islands, and that's who we've got in the World Cup, isn't it? In the
next game,
who we're playing next game. So hopefully that is a good omen. Right. Last question, Brucey. Which Scotland manager earned the most caps as a player? Was it Gordon Strachan, Craig Levein, Alex McLeish, or Bertie Vogts? Oh, Rob thinks he knows. Rob thinks he knows.
Folks definitely played a lot
I know
for
the
Germany.
answers though.
McLeish played quite a lot as well. I'd say it was between those two. I think Volks played a lot of times for Germany, so I'm going to say Buddy Volks.
Smashed it. Bertie Volks smashed it.
Yeah.
6-4. Well done, Brucey. No. Well done. That was the Scottish football quiz, probably the one and only until Si goes on holiday again. The one and only football quiz on the Boorach podcast. Right. Now, where are we?
Do you want to?
We've not got more. We've not got long to go. What is it, Rob?
All right. I was going to say I've got a Scottish sporting question for you guys.
We've just had 14 you guys watch... and you want to add another one in.
I know. You probably nobody wants to listen to this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Did you guys watch Wimbledon?
We did.
Not much of it.
Well,
not much. Some of it. How many? The question is, how many Scottish players were represented at Wimbledon in the kind of senior categories?
So obviously, Scottish tennis players.
3. I think Callum Norrie wasn't he? Is he not Scottish?
He is. Yeah,
Cameron Norrie.
That's what.
Cameron Norrie. Reid, Duncan Reid.
Gordon.
He's
Reid.
Scottish. Is it Duncan Reid? Gordon Reid.
It's Gordon Reid. Yeah.
And I think there was a female as well that was Scottish, and that's why I think it's 3.
So you think?
What do you think,
Brucey?
I think you've missed one.
There's one reasonably obvious
one.
Oh,
Andy played.
I think
Andy played. So maybe 4 then. Yeah.
I'll be honest and say that Wimbledon has passed me by a little bit this year. So singles only. So I can't say Jamie Murray.
Oh yeah,
no, doubles. That would include doubles.
So
men's doubles,
5.
mixed
doubles,
up to 5 now. Singles. Yeah.
I think Jim's right. I think there's another Scottish lad. I'm pretty sure the name Harper is in my head, but I may be making that up. Yeah, I don't know. 6.
The answer is 5.
Oh.
It's Andy Murray, Jamie Murray, Johnny O'Mara, Cameron Norrie, and Gordon Reid.
Right.
Johnny O'Mara is the one you're missing. Anyway,
there you go. There was a good little addition to the sports quiz, and I think with me, my final answer was 5. By the way, I think I won the overall quiz with that. Thanks.
You did, yeah.
I had 6,
so super. What? Sorry,
I had 6.
I think. Yeah, but there was 5 wrong answers, and then so I maybe tied you with that one. I got 6 now as well. I got all your wrong answers. Right,
changing every second here.
Nobody cares. Right, so, okay, we're moving on from the Scottish quiz. Right, and that was the quiz, and so now we're on to something we haven't heard about. So, what do we want to bring to the table, Robin? Do you want to kick us off with something we haven't heard about this week?
Well, yeah, I went with my sort of tech theme of my job. So I don't know if you guys noticed that Google has been fined 500 million euros in France for copyright infringement.
What?
Yeah, 500 million.
Oh, wow. Which
is a bit of probably drop in the ocean for them, I'm sure.
I was going to say, day's income.
So, yeah. So I suppose I just was bringing it up just as a kind of broad thing. Do you think, where Google is now? I mean, this is probably bad for our, for your rankings and Google to be talking them down in the podcast.
I love Google, Rob. I love Google.
Yeah.
We all love Google. Google's great. Yeah.
All the big corporations.
Is it a force for good or bad at the moment? I suppose that was my kind of broad question or takeaway from that.
What was
from that news?
What was their copyright infringement? Was it their sort of tech stuff? Like the phones, or is it that kind of?
No, it was related to news. So they if you go to Google News, it'll show you, effectively a bit like a newspaper, I suppose. it grabs all the news articles from all the different, papers and stuff, or websites, obviously, and then displays them as if it's its own. Really, that's what it's doing. So none of the news websites are getting any money from that. It's just Google that's getting all the advertising revenue.
It's funny. I've noticed that on my newsfeed in the last couple of weeks, that suddenly it's much clearer that if you're clicking on that page, that it's taking you to a site, whereas previously you only really found out the bit of news if you clicked on it. So, and I did that a lot. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? And it's another one of these things that's it's going to be bad for us. I'm going to bring Brexit up now. Coming out of the EU, because
you're supposed to be keeping it light.
If this is an EU,
I regret this Google thing now.
Regulation, then the UK will be exempt from the ruling because we're not part of the EU. The EU will apply to all EU countries, and so anything that's fought in the courts and decided like this potentially excludes the UK, which means we may not get the benefit of European countries like that keeping Google honest for things like that. And that's a serious side to it, but I hadn't heard it. But one thing that did spring to mind is about who took them to court and how long it took. Because although it's keeping them honest, how many times do they actually shut down anyone that tries any of that crap with them? Or I say crap, but you know what I mean. It tries to take them on. They're so big, they'll be able to shut down 90% of them. And it's the ones they can't shut down, and very few of them will ever then go to a final you are charged, i.e. not settled out of court with some kind of ruling. And so you don't see many of these, so it's good that you're seeing it. And a lot of people will like the fact that you're seeing it, but if they knew just how many that didn't get to court, that didn't get the ruling that it should have because of a settlement or whatever, then it's a fraction. But it's good that they've been held to task. Yeah. They should be. They're a big company. They're going to try and make money, right? And the bigger they are, the more they can push their weight around, and they'll do that. And that's what they do to make money. It's ultimately they're a force for evil. Ultimately, all big companies are. And the bigger they get, and any competition, they just buy out, they shut down, they move on. So they control the narrative, they control the technology, they control the software. And Apple are the same, and Microsoft are the same. It's any big company like that will try and keep their status because they've got shareholders and they've got a lot of rich and powerful people that want them to stay where they are. They don't want to be eaten away at by smaller companies with better technology. They want to buy those up, keep that technology, and make their company bigger. And that's not good. And there needs to be a stop to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think to some extent, big companies get big, certainly initially, because their product is quite good. There's no doubt that Google is the best search engine, or certainly for a long time was by far the best search engine. Apple make probably the best computers, best iPhones, best only iPhones, but you know what I mean. So there's obviously things which underpin the quality of the company to allow it to get so big. But I think it's like you say, Jim, it's like anything, isn't it? Once it gets to such a ginormous size that, it's the beast that needs to feed it, is huge. And I don't think it can be it's taking basically the whole of Europe, like you say, to challenge the company.
To restrain it.
That's a sort of an alarming, potential development. What do you think?
So
Rob?
I suppose I suppose that from a kind of business perspective, like from what we do, whereas the normal general public, they use these tools for free. Whereas we advertise on Google, so I know that we pay them. We pay them for some of their services. We pay them to use, for example, Google Maps, to use them in our product. We pay Google, that. So we're paying Google a lot. So I'm sort of from that perspective, always kind of thinking, I'll have to pay these guys all this money. This is where they make this money from. But also, we get the same thing, from if we post articles or news things onto our website, a lot of the time, if you do a search, it'll just take an excerpt of our article into the Google search results, and people will see that, they'll read it, and they'll never actually click through to our website. So it's kind of like, great, you've basically answered the person's question, but you haven't allowed us to sell our product, because they want to keep them on inside Google. So yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy got it right. Really, the bigger a company gets, no matter who it is, the more chances of them doing abusive things,
bad things, being
things.
Bad and just wanting money. Who would do that? Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you bringing that along. Bruce, what news have we not heard about in your world this week?
Well, I'll be honest, Jimmy. I didn't really put one together that wasn't football related for this week, but I did.
That's okay. Shies away. It's no holds barred. We can make it a football podcast for the whole week.
Thinking of our listeners that are maybe not the biggest football fans, but I tell you what, we talked a couple of weeks ago about
listeners?
journeys. Well, listener. Obviously, because I've been away last week, sort of journeys in the car, and I just wanted to share a game that we play in the car, which can kill a good hour quite.
Really?
Quite well.
This would have been handy before a 5-hour trip to North Uist. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. We should have discussed. I
think talked about this before.
Might be one for the bank for you. Jim.
Really?
Like your kids might just be a wee bit small for it. But
so what's the age range here then? Pitch it for the parents out there.
Well, I mean, obviously my daughter's 10 and she's just about able to kind of do it and find a way into the game. So it's probably about that age group, I would say.
So 10 to 15.
Yeah. And I mean, really, the game's just a total steal from Radcliffe and McConey on BBC Radio 6. They used to do a thing called The Chain. And basically they'd play a song, and then the listeners would have to kind of find a kind of quirky or interesting link to that song to keep the chain going.
Right.
And so the way we do it in the car is that someone will pick a song, and then the next person has to come up with for their song. So it's kind of sharing the stereo. Their song, they have to come up with a kind of interesting or quirky link.
And so you play the song, do you?
Yeah, you play the song and listen to it. So
you play the song, right? And then someone's got to come up with a link, and then with whatever song they come up with, you play that song, and that's how long the next person's got to. Okay.
Essentially,
yeah. I think my 4-year-old boy is probably he's not gonna.
He's not.
If
quite
it's not
there
the Batman theme tune,
and it'll always come back round to Batman. Just see if we can make it always come back to Batman theme tune. That'd be quite good. There's always a link, 7 steps of separation and all that.
But Si, on his journey back from his holiday, when he's listening to the Boorach, they can get stuck in. They've got older demographic in terms of the kids. So I mean,
that's true.
I mean, like, it's quite good fun, and it's simple. You could make it more competitive if you wanted to, but we don't do it. And we just have a simple rule, which is you can't have the same artist like more than twice. Sometimes you just can't think of anything, so you might choose the same artist as the link.
I'll add to this if you've got younger kids, and I did play this on the way up the road, which is something similar, but you take letters of the alphabet and you've got to come up with, and you pick your topic, whether it's an animal or a country or a person's name, and everyone in the car's got to come up with, and you start with the youngest, got to come up with an animal or got to come up with a name with that letter. And that's why because you start with the youngest, it's obviously they get the first pick and it's a little bit easier for them. And you can help them along by making animal noises and stuff. So yeah, that was the one we played. But and it did pass a good. I think we got to J before they got bored and started fighting again. Enough about that. So I think on that note, I think we're going to move on because time is marching, and we're going to go to Crowdfunder Corner. And I've taken over from Si's Crowdfunder Corner. I've been on Crowdfunder. I've had a quick look at what's out there, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. But I've decided to pick one that's close to home for you guys, and close to home for where I used to be as well, and everybody else that's been on the podcast. But this one is a coffee house, an independent coffee shop called Oliver's Coffee House, and it's based at Straighton Retail Park, I believe. It's not It's not what the map says on their website, right enough. But anyway, that's where they say that they're at. And they try and buy into, locally, and they give to charities and all the rest of it. But they've been hit pretty hard with COVID and having to shut down and try and keep their place running. And so they're really trying to crowdfund so that they can kind of keep going. And they are looking for donations, and it's almost like buy your coffee for the future, or buy your, they'll give you a gift when you come into the shop again, and and you use you can show that you've given a donation. They'll just give you stuff back when they can open again. So I think they're using this as a way to try and just sort of stay open and not have to close during the COVID period. Now I'm hoping that they're back open now, although it does say that they're closed on Google at the moment. But I think with the retail, because they're in the retail park, obviously with all the retail shops, if they're non-essential, shutting down, you don't have as much traffic there anymore. They won't be getting nearly as many people into their coffee shops. So it's a good local business trying to do the right thing to try and keep going, and not just take the easy road. And I say easy, it's never easy, but just shut the business and just call it quits. So they're trying to keep going, and they've got a wee crowdfunder on the go where you can donate. They've had it for the last year. They've had where you can just donate some money and try and keep them going. So Oliver's Coffee House, if you want to donate there, they keep a small independent coffee shop going, and they're using the money to modernise and update their shop so that they can reopen with all the new rules, etc. in this tough time. So that's Crowdfunder Corner, if you want to do it. Right, and that brings us swiftly on to Whiskey of the Week. Now I'm gonna rush through this a little bit, and it's a shame because it is one of my favourite whiskies. But this week we're going to look at a Singleton. Now you might have heard the name. I'm holding it up to the camera for the YouTubers. Singleton Signature is the one that I'm tasting this evening, of Glenord. Now this is the key thing, is that Singleton is one of the few name brands that was originally in Glendullan, I think, was the original Singleton, which was basically between Inverness and Glendullan, yes, in between Inverness and Aberdeen, so right up in the north, sort of east, right on the Speyside side of whiskey. And it actually takes all its water from the River Fiddich. Can anybody else guess what other whiskey takes their water from the River Fiddich?
Oh, I wonder. Maybe.
Anyone? It's Glenfiddich, obviously. Glenfiddich. So it's from the same area as that. But Singleton then have a Dufton, and they have a Glenord, and you can actually get whiskies from each of these three distilleries. And they're all really smooth, really easy drinking whiskies. And it's always one I take to the rugby matches because they're always just right, nice and easy to drink. You don't need any water with them. They're just really smooth. Don't have a lot of burn, but they've got a lot of flavour. And you can immediately tell it's a Singleton when you're drinking it, whichever distillery it's from. Actually, it doesn't seem to make a difference. So they have done really well, kind of matching them. What you might see, the very common one, is a Singleton 12, and that's the one that you'll see in the shops. Anyway, but that's the whiskey of the week this week, is Singleton Signature. Right. So I think we're going to have to wrap that up there. I think. Brucey, I think that's probably going to have to do us for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, Robin.
Thank you for having me.
And
Brucey, thank you for your chat and banter as always.
Top hosting, Jimmy. Thrown in, you've risen to the occasion. You've if I stop talking in the next 20 seconds, it will keep us under an hour, and then you'll have done your job just beautifully. Sorry, I'll stop.
That's what I'm desperately trying to do, Brucey. Well done. But yes, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this week's episode.